You're listening to Mr. Credit on San Diego 1700 with local credit expert Derek Evans. Now, live in studio, Mr. Credit.
Welcome to Mr. Credit. We are live and local here in San Diego, bringing you the most important hour in radio. We'll be talking about consumer credit scoring, loan modifications, short sales, foreclosure. Got some crazy stories for you today. If you're a Facebooker, check us out on Facebook. Just do a search for Mr. Credit, and you will find me there. You can always email me questions at AskMrCredit@yahoo.com. I'll be answering your emails a little later in the show. Today I want to start off by talking about loan modification. Now, this is something that I get questions about every day. A lot of people ask me if I do it. I do not. I will defer to the experts shortly on that. But a lot of people ask me questions. Does a loan modification affect your credit? What can we do? Is it likely? Will it happen? Will it not happen? Well, let's talk first about what exactly is a loan modification. Now, when you're talking about modifying your current loan, you're usually talking about a mortgage. And when you're modifying a loan, we've got to remember something that's very important principle here. It's a new loan. You're trying to apply for a new loan, basically. The bank is always going to do whatever's going to be best for them. So there's things to consider in applying for a loan modification, but you have to understand the backside. What is the bank thinking? Why in the world would the bank lower the payment on your mortgage? Why would they just give you a better payment or a lower interest rate or a principal reduction? What's in it for them? There's got to be something on the other side, a reason for them to do it. And today I've got in the studio loan modification expert Edward Paula. Ed, glad you can make it in today.
Thanks for having me, Derek. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, the reason I've got Ed in here, and the reason I bring him to you is because he's got an extremely high success rate, and he understands the way these things work. So, Ed, first of all, what are probably the most important 2 or 3 things for people to know about the way that loan modifications work?
Well, first and foremost, what people don't understand is every loan modification is different. Every situation is different. Every bank is different. So when you hear from your cousin, your grandma, your uncle, your aunt, your friend, you know, I got this done or I didn't get this done, necessarily those don't apply to everybody. Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, people have to understand that.
Yeah.
And they have to analyze their own situation with their current lender. You know, so every situation is different, and that's first and foremost the most important.
First and foremost, every situation is different. And, you know, that's funny because I got an email. It was last week. I didn't read it. I just responded to the listener. But the email was something along the lines of, you know, my friends or my whoever it was, my cousins, whatever it was, got their loan modification within a couple months. Mm-hmm. I'm still in mine and have been for 6-7 months.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess if someone's in that situation right now, let's say it's been 6-7 months, you know, should they give up? I mean, when is the time where you say, all right, it's been long enough. If we were going to have our loan modified, we would have had it modified by now.
Well, if you're working with somebody who's doing a modification for you, then I would want to follow up that the work's being done. Mm-hmm. So this is assuming that you're not doing your modification yourself.
Okay. There's
a lot of people out there who are hiring certain individuals or companies to work for them, which is great. You know, what more better to have than an expert working on your file?
Sure.
So that's good, but on the downside of that is some of these people are working in ways which don't abide by the law or whatnot. So what you want to make sure is they're getting stuff done.
Okay.
So contact your lender if you're not working on the modification on your own, and make sure stuff is getting done.
And so that's one of the first things I think that's important to understand about what Ed does for his clients is, and you can call him, by the way, if you have questions, 866-870-8282. He'll actually follow up, even if you've hired someone, even if you've paid money to a company to do your loan modification, he'll actually follow up and make sure that they're doing the work. Now, just like anything, okay, any business, you always have to be leery. You know, there's an article that I'm going to read to you on Thursday that someone wrote in the LA Times. I'm not going to give him any press by telling you what his name is, but I'm going to read his article, and what he says is be wary of credit repair companies. Now, my response to that in short is be wary at all times. If you're spending money with someone, if you are investing your money, your hard-earned money into someone, you should always do the double checks. You should do the BBB search. You should contact other clients, or you should ask someone who's worked with them what they think. You should always do that. Always, 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 because business is about making money. And if you're a business owner, you understand that. If you're not, then you might be oblivious to the fact that not just the big banks, but most businesses, their focus is making money. Now, the reason that I bring you William McDonald, the reason I bring you Dan Kerr, and especially the reason I bring you Edward Paula, is because I know that these folks specifically care about you. They want to help you achieve your goals. And when it comes to loan modifications, the horror stories, I mean, the list goes on and on. So right off the bat, what Ed will do for you is he'll actually call your bank, make sure that whatever company you're working with or whatever work you've done yourself is being done and treated properly from the backside. Now keep in mind, you got the banks, I mean, not only are they going to try to take a bath here, they're going to try to give you a lower payment or reduce the principal on your loan, but they're also spending a lot of labor. So they've got people who are working in these offices trying to approve these loan modifications, dealing with the paperwork. They're having to pay those people as well. Now, we know that the banks don't like to not make money, okay? That's what they're there for. Anything that doesn't make money. Same with the bureaus. Same thing with the bureaus. They treat it the exact same way. If it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense to them. So when you look at these loan modifications, the first thing you have to ask is why. So why would the bank do a loan modification for you? Why would they lower your payment? Because it's better than you foreclosing. That might be better than you doing a short sale for them. They can mitigate their loss. And a lot of the departments are actually called that, loss mitigation, because they're trying to prevent the amount of money that they're going to lose on your mortgage. Now, if you can get your loan modified successfully, you can really hit the lotto. I mean, there's some amazing things that can happen with a loan modification. But the truth is, most of them don't get approved. Ed, I think you brought in the numbers today on actually how many have been applied for versus how many have been approved in the state of California.
Yeah, we actually had numbers from the Making Home Affordable program, and there's 1.1 million applications, and only 66,000 of those were fully approved modifications. So, that's less than 7% of fully approved modifications.
That's a lot higher than what I thought it was. Now, the trick there, the thing to understand is that doesn't mean that those 66,000 people got amazing deals, that
no.
money saving,
no,
or anything like that. I actually had a conversation with someone at a chamber event who said she got her loan modification approved, but the bank was actually trying to make her payment go up $500. Do you see that a lot?
Yeah, well, 1 in 4 modifications result in a higher payment than before. You got to think about accrued interest, payments behind if you're late, so that gets added up. And if you are working with these lenders and you expose to them your financials, you submit pay stubs, and when they see what you can afford, they're going to put you to a 38-31% debt-to-income ratio for your mortgage, homeowners insurance, and your taxes. So, you can afford that, so that's why they're giving you that.
I see.
So necessarily, if you get your home modification, doesn't guarantee you a lower payment. That's why it's important to speak to somebody who knows. I got a couple of phone calls within the last couple of days from your show, and people that have called, it just wouldn't make sense to even apply, because they're risking their payment going up. So why would you even want to, basically you don't want to start messing with something if you're risking, a negative impact.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yes, you have to do a risk-reward analysis, and Ed will do that for you. You can call him directly, 866-870-8282. That's 866-870-8282. A very important point you make there. You've got to make sure it makes sense for you.
Definitely.
And that's the reason that I bring Ed to the table for you, because if you're looking at doing a loan modification, if you're considering it, if you'd like to do it, if you're in the process of one, the person who you're working with, I don't know if they have your best interest in mind or not, but I know Ed does, and that's why people call him. If it's not going to make sense, he's not going to run you out there and try to get a modification if your payment's going to go up. So the bank's looking at it. Now, the reason that the payments go up, I think, in a lot of these cases is because the loans that people have right now are actually not amortized fully. So there's some sort of exotic mortgage product, that has a payment that's lower than just the interest or just the interest alone. And when they do the modification, the bank wants you to see you start paying some of that principal in. Is that what you see as well?
Yep.
So in the case that you might have, a pay option type or pick a pay type mortgage loan, it may not make the most sense for you to do a modification. But you also have to look at, well, can we afford the payment or not? So we have to look at the situation very specifically. Now, as far as the effect on credit score, if you read some stuff online, you'll see people talking about how applying for loan modification actually impacts your credit score. I have not seen this personally. I think it's all hogwash. And the reason that I think it's hogwash is because I've seen plenty of credit reports post-loan modification with absolutely no impact to the credit score at all. I've seen the before and afters. I've got the case studies.